Hello guys, I, I'm sure you will be able to see my slides. And as the topic for today's discussion is emerging opportunities in biomedical research, I would like to make it easy for you to understand what are these opportunities, where are we heading towards. But before we do that, let us understand what biomedical research means. Now, it is a broad area of science that involves the investigation of the biological process and the cause of disease to discover ways to prevent ill health and develop new methods to treat them. Which means that how do we understand how diseases happen, and then how do we identify ways of treating them. Now, I'm sure you know what this picture is. So it's a picture which actually was released in the year 2001, and it's a very big event in the history of science when we first sequenced the Human Genome Project. And this was the launch of the Human Genome Project when we know what is the blueprint on which an organism is made. And human being the more complex, we could elucidate at least the letters in which it was encoded. I'm showing you this machine because just to give you an idea of what kind of infrastructure was required at that time to sequence the whole human genome. Now, it was a very global effort because it was a tough job. Nobody knew how to exactly do it. So a lot of centers from many countries and the best minds in the world came together, designed a protocol so that they can actually read the DNA, the complete DNA of a human being. It was a project that took 10 years and $3 billion to finish it. And the interest was to understand human disease and evolution. But if you see today, since 2001 to now, it takes much less effort and much less money to actually sequence any genome. So now you have technologies like Minion, which actually can sequence a genome of as less than as $1,000. And given that this has happened, there is a huge rise in the number of human genomes that have already been sequenced, and not just human. All organisms are sequenced at a very, very fast pace. And what we are having is now a very high throughput way of generating a lot of data. And we are struggling to make sense of that data. And if you see here, this person is practically representing the scientific community. And it's not gonna be any easier in future. The genomics data is projected at 1 zettabases a year by 2025, which is not far off. And this is to show you how much a zettabyte is. So that is the rate at which we are gonna generate information. And what are the kind of methods that you apply to understand it for betterment of human health? So if you see this word cloud, it shows you in words like learning, big data, probability, machine, algorithms. So there is actually a huge opportunity in applying a lot of statistical methods in understanding what this data is trying to tell us. And the buzzwords for now and for the future are listed here. It's like machine learning, artificial intelligence, network science, predictive modeling. And as you can see, that given the contemporary methods of sharing data sets, or basically contemporary methods of picking up any subject, this is very multidisciplinary. Now, why do you need to do that? Now, I'm sure all of you are aware of this story, where there are 6 blind men who have been asked to look at what they are feeling. Now, one person thinks that the tail of the elephant is a rope. The other person thinks the ear of the elephant is a fan. Somebody says the trunk of the elephant is a wall. So basically what's happening is that given that none of them can see the whole elephant, what they're feeling, they're sensing it is something that they recognize, but you know it is not, right? Because you can see the whole elephant. Now, translating that concept to big data, we actually are all blind men trying to make sense of this huge, humongous amount of data that is coming to us. And if we really want to make sense out of it, we need to apply methods that physicists and mathematicians have been using for all these years and see how do we apply them to biological big data so that we can apply our observations for betterment of human health. Now, the very nature of biomedical research is multidisciplinary. I have listed a few subjects here: biology, medicine, maths, physics, chemistry, computer science, statistics, information technology. Now, most of us actually do a basic degree in one of these subjects. But in order to move forward in biomedical research today, one has to develop expertise and get degrees in at least more than one of these subjects. Some universities actually offer multidisciplinary degree subject selections. You should opt for that. At the bottom of the slide, I have shared some terms by which you can search the internet to see what kind of jobs are available when you actually work in the field of biomedical research. Fortune India did an analysis of what are the top 10 jobs of the future. And as you can see, the data managers, like who can make sense of big data, is the top job of the future. It actually tells you that you need much more managers than we have now, so there is a lot of opportunity. Not everybody is interested in core research, but that is not all what you can do with biomedical sciences. There are a lot of other things that one can do. Like, say for example, if you can go into biomedical services, like you can work with hospital departments to actually do a lot of testing, like in microbiology, virology, hematology, cytology. So there are so many subject areas, and we can actually work with hospital settings and providing biomedical services. You can work with various startups to develop new devices. That does definitely require some bit of a core research, but it also has a huge translational angle to it. Of course, one can go into teaching. If you don't want to really get into full-time research, you can teach and teach other people how to do biomedical research. You can get into project management, can get into market research, can become a clinical trials coordinator. You can do business development, you can be into sales, or if you really like writing, if you can convert a scientifically complex phenomenon into something which is understandable by general public, you can go to scientific writing as well. And that's a pretty decent job to have, and it's important that for that job that you have the core understanding of the field. Now, this is basically to show you that when I do a lot of multidisciplinary projects, I don't do it by myself. I engage large multidisciplinary communities in solving a lot of problems, and I'm not describing that today because that is not the focus of our interaction. I would like to thank you with this brief introduction to biomedical research. And where I would like to end is that when you become a scientist in experimental biology, now this actually is a graph that which actually shows how an experimental biologist is different from a computational biologist. This is something which is misleading because it's actually the life is definitely beautiful in a computational biologist field, but it is also equally hard. And of course, there has to be more synergy between how experiments are done versus how data is analyzed. And that is, I think, is the future.